Hello and happy Monday. Recently, I've been getting a lot of questions about selling a home to an iBuyer. And I figured I'd put together a little bit of an informative video so that way you could kind of make your own assumptions on if it makes the most sense for you. Because in some cases, it's a fantastic option, and in some cases, it does not make sense. An iBuyer, for all intensive purposes, is going to cover Opendoor, OfferPad, Zillow, any of the companies who essentially buy a property and then almost immediately turn it around and put it right back on the market. So, why would you sell to an iBuyer? Essentially, you're trading some equity you have in the house for convenience. That's really the short version of why you would do it. So perhaps you need an incredibly specific close of escrow date that has a lot of complications that are going with it. That would really be the best example. And so let's unpack that a little bit. The convenience factor especially exists in more of a buyer's market. So let's say, for example, the house is going to sit on the market for a while. You're not totally sure when it'll go under contract. You're not totally sure, if you'll be able to get the close of escrow date you want. And so you trade money, get a lower offer for convenience, pick your date of closing. In today's market, that is pretty much guaranteed when you're the seller. When you're selling your house, you're going to have buyers, if it's appropriately priced and marketed well, throwing themselves at you. When my clients on the buy side are writing offers right now, we start by calling the listing agent to say, what day does your client want to close? We are already giving them that convenience factor. But let's say not only do you want the convenience factor, but you also have a more unique situation. So let's use the example of, I wrote an offer this weekend where the seller is moving out of state, but they're not moving out of state till April 9th. And they prefer not to sell their house, find a place to live, and then a couple of weeks later move out of state. So we offered them an extra long close of escrow or the opportunity to close early and then rent back. See, so the seller really is in the driver's seat when it comes to when you're going to close. So yay, solve that problem. Now, some people still think like, hey, I still got a really great offer from them. Why wouldn't I take that? What's the difference between if I sold it with you versus with them, and show me a net sheet. And we can do that, which is fantastic. But the bigger picture is that let's think about iBuying a little bit more holistically. They're a business and not a not-for-profit, meaning that they have to make money in some capacity. And that's why I say you are undoubtedly trading the convenience factor for money. Example, that was the most prevalent was last week I met with some sellers who had already gotten a very competitive offer from one of those companies. And I looked at it and I said, well, do I think you'd be leaving equity on the table? Yep, but not a huge gap. So let's unpack this a little bit. Number one, how do we know you're going to get the amount that they have here? In an interesting kind of turn of events, not interesting in general for that sort of situation, but real estate in general, typically we negotiate repairs after we're under contract and an inspection happens. Most of those companies do a quote unquote inspection before they write you an offer. So they had already given my clients a repair allowance that they were asking for. But here's the interesting thing. They didn't remove the inspection period from the contract. So if you've already inspected the house and you've already offered up a credit for those repairs, why do we need an inspection period? And that's because as I educated my clients, they aren't protecting you from a later change to price terms or anything like that, because they still have the inspection period where they can come back and whatever happened, and now we need to change it. We thought more about it, we looked closer, whatever the case is. So that's number one. But number two, so besides the fact that there's not really anything in the contract that prevents further negotiation, number two is that they have to make money, right? So let's say in this particular case, they had offered my clients $425. Let's say one of those iBuyer companies really thought the house was worth $425. Well, when they buy it, they're going to pay closing costs and a variety of things that are associated with acquiring the property. They're going to have holding costs, right? So whether that be simple stuff, property taxes, HOA fees, the opportunity cost, right, of having their money tied up with the property. And then they have fees when they close on the property. Title fees, escrow fees, commission on the buy side. I'd like to hope whoever is working for Open Doors also getting paid. So they're gonna, Open Door, OfferPad, all those companies. Hopefully they're also getting paid, meaning that the company is going to have just general operating expenses of doing the transaction in the first place. And so if they sold at the same price that was the fair market value for your house, they would lose money without a doubt. So that probably means that they're going to have to increase the price, meaning you could have sold your house at that increased price all along. So unless there's a real upside through this transaction, making significantly more money, getting a significantly smoother process, you're really trading some sort of equity for the house for something else. If whatever the something else isn't worth it to you, no, iBuyers would not make sense in that capacity. Sometimes I run into people who are saying like, well, our house is in pretty bad shape. I don't think we can sell it on the market traditionally. We need to go for one of these iBuyers. They don't actually buy homes in bad shape. They buy homes that are sure bets, safe decisions. So maybe the house needs paint or carpet replacement or something like that. They're not gutting a kitchen and replacing it. They're not replacing a leaking roof. They're not putting a new AC on the property. And so if you're in a truly distressed situation, either, you inherited the property and it needs to be gutted, or you had tenants in the property and they just ruined it or something like that, they're not going to be buying the property anyway. So what you'd really want to look for when you're talking to your agent are the opportunities and options that they provide to you as a seller to handle that for you, whether that be that they're providing you all the contractors and things like that that you would need to accomplish that if you wanted to, or whether that be that they're also providing you buyout options, right? Whether either they themselves or they work with a group of investors who would be able to buy it for you in the same capacity you're looking for an easy out through an iBuyer. So does all that stuff exist? Yes, but there's always pros and cons. So when you're meeting with a professional, that's what you want to do, is make sure that they're able to explain to you the options so that way you can make the best decision for yourself. All right, well, I hope this information on iBuyers proves to be helpful. And if there's any questions you have, please let me know. Have a great day. Bye-bye.